There's a question over there.
Yeah. So, I guess unfortunately our product has a few more steps than the 7 different steps that you've posted there.
Yeah.
So we can easily imagine there are, let's say, hundreds of different ways in which you could do your base operations with different modules and so on. When you're creating a test case then, you might still have many steps. Do you have the ability to do sort of meta layers
Absolutely.
of your operation?
Absolutely.
So you could define actions that are high level actions.
Yes.
That are combinations of lower ones.
Absolutely. And those are called flows. If we were to get into a tool discussion where I actually showed you screenshots and ran through the process, you can take those lower level components, put them together into what's called a flow, and then build tests out of flows instead of individual components.
And the concept would be the same in the way you describe
Absolutely.
it, that the business analyst or the systems analyst would decide this is a component and this is a flow.
Yes. Yeah. This is all version controlled by Quality Center. It's all managed and maintained centrally. There's role-based reporting. There's a ton of good things that come with Quality Center and having this
Permissions.
It's not just
Don't
an
wanna let
integration.
permissions.
It's not just an integration. It's the same tool. It's just a higher. It's an evolution of how QA does their work.
So what about QTP framework, etc.? You used to make, is there some relationship?
There is absolutely. QTP is the foundation that supports the automation. QTP has to exist in order to be able to provide automation. But I've seen a lot of customers look at BPT strictly to manage their testing, not from an automation perspective. One customer in Victoria I was talking to had over 15,000 tests in their test lab. Sorry, their test plan. This wasn't counting the number of permutations of these tests. It was 15,000 manual tests. They were screaming for a framework. And unfortunately, a number of hands changed before they could actually get started on this. But they all agreed in QA this was absolutely critical for them. There was no way they could maintain what they were doing across that many tests.
I discussed with Danny, is saying apply for QTP, and you know the customer, I may not need QTP. Is that you? I said honestly, I don't think that's correct, but
No, you do need QTP.
yeah.
And actually one thing.
If you want to automate,
Yes.
HP's answer to test automation is QTP and another product called Service Test for GUIless or for web services. Those are the automation tools. Does BPT require QTP? Shane just said no. You can actually use BPT to string together your manual tests.
Right. Like if I just want to restate how I understood it. It's just like business analyst explaining the unit tasks for a business process, and then we being a tester, we know about traceability from a scenario level where we actually pick up the requirement number and try to map it to the test case number, which means scenario number. And this one will be at the unit task level, right?
Yes.
So we are just trying to make sure that out of this business process only the login is working. And then every time anybody who's going to test the other module has to go through the same.
And you're piecing these things together like building blocks. So for those testers that are concerned with the 2,000 different iterations of those 2 or 3 dozen tests, they're less concerned with how the tests are designed. They're more concerned with the outcome. More importantly, they don't need to understand how it was done.
Right.
It takes that maintenance of the individual tests out of their hands as well. So you might, as the senior QA person, take care of that. And it really does take care of it on the unit test level. You're right.
So is it like I have a unit task as Mona stated, and I have some 5 steps under it, and every time I have to do the same action, I'm going to export those 5 steps in? That's going to save my manual entry time?
Yeah, if you have the automation in place, absolutely. And that
not even automation, it's just about QC, talking to people.
Well, the tool won't do the automation for you just by defining what needs to be done. So
Who's going to write the test steps there?
Whoever knows the application best.
It could be a BA or it could
Yes.
be a senior QA.
Yeah.
Subject
So
matter
then we
expert.
can change those steps if there's a need, right?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, you can override.
That's kind of exporting those to our test scripts, right?
Yeah, you can override things and say, I don't want to take these parameters that they use. I'm going to use my own, and then we're going to keep track of that. What changed? Now, of course, I wanted to avoid getting into a discussion about the tool itself more.
No, but that's good. I think you overachieved your objective. You wanted to give the concept out, right? And we got a little bit into the technology.
Just one quick question. How does Load Runner fit in with it?
Load Runner and BPT right now, they're separate. In version 11 of Quality Center, we've taken a somewhat different approach with Load Runner, and actually, if you're familiar with Performance Center, which is the next sort of evolution of Load Runner, it does the enterprise level performance testing. They're actually built on the same platform now. So Quality Center 11 and Performance Center 11 are one platform, and there's much more integration there than there was in the previous versions, and I expect to see more integration in the future.
Yeah, because if I use the tool to define my application and the flows, then I'd like to know this functional testing as well as.
Oh, and that's actually a good point, because perhaps in a roundabout way then, because you've always had the ability to run functional tests in Load Runner.
Yeah.
If you're able to do that, then this is going to enhance that ability. Instead of creating as a load tester, because the focus is very different in load testing, right? We're interested in a subset of functionality that best represents our users, and we're not going to test every possible, outcome. Business process testing would provide you with the building blocks for those load test functional scripts without having to understand how it's implemented. So again, if somebody else has done the definition, the BA or subject matter expert, and somebody's done the functional automation piece of it, you could absolutely piece those together and build a load test run.
My little academic question and also very quick little trivial. You actually, Paul, came up with Larry's point. You expanded on performance testing, pulling it up before, sooner than later. Simple question, how do you actually justify the ROI? Given a choice, if I had tons of money and testing network.
How do you justify the ROI?
Yeah.
So
On performance testing or on?
testing in general, I think.
No, on performance, but when you're bringing it before the, you're not leaving it towards 10, but trying to bring it before.
Test during the iterations.
During the iteration,
Yeah.
Can I take this? Actually?
I'm more into general, I did not.
Yeah. No, it's it is a philosophical question, because as I've specialized in performance testing for over 6 years in a large financial institution. So our biggest challenge was we always had 2 weeks at the end of the cycle to do testing. Everything else is done. Okay, you can go in and test it. And then I would be the guy in the junior position, the least paid person on the floor, who stood up at the go, no-go decision meeting and said, it doesn't work.
Or the functionality works, but it's just
It performs like
crawls, yeah.
It crashed.
Yeah. So you wanted to 5 seconds or less, how's 50? And almost lose my job on a regular basis. I wasn't a popular guy for a while. So a lot of these situations can be avoided if you can test earlier in the life cycle. If you can get in there and work with the developers and find a solution that allows you to test as they're developing, as they're releasing code to the test environment, not unit testing. That's a whole different world where you do your code level unit testing and probe analysis and all that.
We have a sorry to interrupt you. We have a customer actually. Larry and I have a call tomorrow. So they are e-commerce retailer, one of the largest one actually in DC or actually in North America. And he's facing this now. He's saying for Christmas or Thanksgiving, whenever he launches a promotion, the consumers get response after 5 minutes.
Yeah.
So he's saying that promotion of no use. So he said, I want to launch the promotion. The guy saying, oh, if we launch the promotion, then.
And there's a huge difference between functional and performance testing. Functional testing is a science. Performance testing is an art, and it's always going to be that way. Unfortunately, what you as a performance tester bring to the table is the ability to predict situations where, okay, here's where you're going to see a peak in production. It could be a marketing event. It could be